Today we are going to be working on the embroidered placemat. If you have an embroidery machine, you can embroider whatever you feel you'd like to the front. Just make sure it's not a really dense, filled, stitched item. And also for kids, think about doing some animals or just some fun things, and perhaps even maybe an applique. And then we're going to discuss how we are going to put this together. Next 12 Days of Christmas project is going to be an embroidered placemat. And some of the supplies that you're going to need is a product, fray check, fray block. There's also another one that is water soluble. All this is supposed to do is adhere the very end when we're going to start. That's all it's for, so that they don't fray. We're also going to need some poly cord. This is what I ended up getting from, I think this was from Lowe's. It's a synthetic clothesline. I did get the 3 3/16. This is a 50-foot. For the embroidery, I used yellow, red, and green. Now we're going to get started. Machine settings, I'm on the chorus, and I'm going to set this up at a zigzag stitch. You could use stitch number 9 or number 10. I'm going to set the width up at a 4 and the stitch length at a 1.4. I may change this as we go along, but for right now I'm going to leave it at that setting. I have added a little bit of the fray stop onto the end of this. Again, you can use fray check if you want. And I'm just going to bend this like this. And we are going to start with our zigzag. And I'm going to flip this over. The reason why I'm flipping this over is that I want my cord, for me, it's better on the right hand side. For lefties, you may want to flip this back over so the cord is coming off the left. Whatever is most comfortable for you is going to be the correct way for you. There's no wrong way or right way to do this. And I'm going to pinch this as we go along. So I'm pinching in here, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to go back. And I'm going to just slightly turn as my stitching goes. Come back over to the right. Trying to get my hands out of the way so you can get a better picture of this. And what I'm trying to make sure that we do is that I catch, before I turn, that the needle has caught onto the left and is coming back over to the right and is catching into each of the cords as I go around. Turn it a little bit more. That's why I said sometimes you may need to change the width as we go, because if you find you're having a hard time catching your cord, then by all means make that stitch width a little bit wider. And I am going quite slow because, again, I just want to make sure when I'm beginning, because the coil is so small, that I just want to make sure that I catch everything. And then once this becomes a little bit larger, then I can speed up the machine. But I am on the almost the slowest setting. And as you noticed, I am using white thread because I'm using white coil. If you are going to use the clothesline that is in red, by all means use the red thread so that your zigzag stitches won't show up very well. There's also a royal blue out there, and if you had taken my class that we did when we made the baskets, I had an off-white cord that had black in it ever so often that turned out being really, really pretty. But I did use a neutral color of thread in that matched the cord color. All right, now that this is a little bit larger, I can speed up this machine. And anytime you turn, make sure that your needle is in that left coil, not on the inside coil, is on the outside coil. And we are just going to continue doing this now that I'm on a rhythm, and this is going pretty good. We are just going to continue, and I'm going to make sure that this is large enough for one of the embroidery designs that I have picked on the Altair 2 to do on the base of this before we finish the plate off. I have the coil, the clothesline, a pretty good size. As you can see, I have hand stitched it to my water soluble stabilizer that's in the hoop. This is just a 6 by 10 1/4 hoop, 6 1/4 by 10 1/4. I've just literally hand stitched all the way around to do this really, really pretty design that comes on the Solaris Vision. Another design that you could choose is this on the Altair and the Home Accents. Anything that is really like a run stitch is what we're looking for, not a fill stitch. And as you can see, I did not use any water-soluble topper. I felt that this was fine. If you want to, you most certainly can. Just hold that over. Now that I have this completely stitched out, we're going to take this out and finish it over on the machine on the chorus. Embroidery done. And I also want to talk about the weight of the thread. I just used a 60 weight thread in the yellow, the red, and the green. And I'm just using Aurifil thread in order to do my zigzag stitching for the placemat. As far as needle, I actually have an 80-12 needle in here. I do not have a 90-14. I know everyone talks about how you have to have that 90-14. It depends on your machine, and it depends on the weight of the thread that you're using. I'm using an Aurifil, which is a 50 or 60 weight thread. I feel comfortable. I'm not sewing very, very quickly. I think as long as you slow the machine down during your embroidery, you're going to be perfectly fine with an 80-12 needle, but it also does depend on the cord that you're using. So if you're using a really thick, heavy cord that's hard, you may want to go to the 90-14. This is very soft and almost cotton-like, so I'm going to use my 80-12 and it'll work just fine. I'm starting back up again on where I had left off in the placemat, so I want to make sure that I also reverse stitch. So I'm actually going to start with a reverse stitch first, and again double checking that my stitch width on the zigzag is going to cover both sides of the cord. Now that I also have this placemat large enough, I can keep the center marking of the J-foot, which is what I have on the chorus, in the center so that I know that that line, that center mark on that J-foot rides between both cords so that the zigzag is going to hit both of those sides, the right side and the left side of the cord. So I'm not even really watching the needle. I'm making sure that the spot on the foot is right in between those two cords. And as long as I keep it there, I know that this will continue to stitch properly. And I'm just speeding up for filming purposes. Normally I would not sew this quickly. And I'm just going to continue to sew all the way around just like this until I get the placemat as large as I want. So when I get this done, we'll be back. The other thing I was thinking, if you've got grandkids, niece, nephew that's small, instead of this flower-centered embroidery, you could do their favorite embroider dog or cats, whatever they're into at the time. You could embroider that into the center of the placemat for them, and I think that would kind of be fun. So what I am going to do is, here is my end. I'm going to take my fabric scissors, and you can take snips, it's fine. And I'm literally going to go at an angle and just trim that off. And I'm going to go ahead and put that foot down. And when I get to about an inch out, I am now going to shorten my stitch length. So this is going to be smaller, and I made it very small. So this is almost like a satin stitch. And I should have really had my purple fang, but I can use the seam ripper. And what I'm going to do is hold that in. Oops, sorry, did the wrong thing. Hold this in as close as I can get it. Perfect. I'm going to reverse stitch. And you see this little hair out here, I can either trim that off, or the other thing that I can do is widen my stitch length just a little, lower that presser foot, and catch more of that fuzz. I'm going to raise this up just a little. I'm going to back up, and I'm going to try to push all of this in, and we're going to try to grab that as I come forward. And I'm still keeping that at a very, very tiny stitch length. Now I'm going to bring in that zigzag width a bit. Doing another nice, good reverse stitch. Coming forward just a little bit, and I can even go back with that stitch width and even grab this more if that's too much of a cut-in for you, which it is for me, but that's okay because I can play around with this, trim this up even more, and go back in and do that zigzag. So I'll show you that in just a minute. Okay. Now you can see that I trimmed this just a little bit more, brought in all that kind of fuzz from cutting the rope. And then what you're going to want to do is you want to finish that off if you still have some fuzz, and you can take fray check or fray block, whichever you prefer, and kind of wrap it around the edges with your finger to push that down. So let me just put some on my finger and I'll show you what I did. just have some on my finger, and you can literally just go along that edge because I trimmed some more off and get all of that wrapped up very, very nice. This is washable, fray check and fray block. It's washable, but there we have it.